Alright, so this is the video of the evens no calculator. Solve each equation using the best algebraic method. Show your work, give exact answers in simplified form. Okay, exact answers means no decimals, but you don't have a calculator, so it's unlikely that you would give anything other than exact answers. Like you're going to default into exact answers on this page. The best algebraic method, that's sort of up to you, because I'm not going to grade you. I'm not going to take off if I think you picked the lesser algebraic method. Right? If you quadratic formula one that would have factored, okay, you didn't use the best method, but as long as you got there, you'd be okay. All right, all of these are quadratics, so let's make them equal to 0, and then figure out what to do from there. So number 2, I move the 8x over, I add 1 to both sides. Let's see, how could I factor that? I'll take out a 4x, that leaves 3x minus 2. I'm glad this one showed up for you guys. I hope the people aren't... hope everyone watches this video, because they'll see this one. Most people will get the x equals 2/3, and a lot of people will leave it at that and be done. But you got to set both factors equal to 0. So x equals 0 and x equals 2/3. Make sure you get both solutions. You could quadratic formula that. I don't know why you would, but you could, and you'd eventually land with those two answers. Number 4. What in the world? Thoughts? Is that 21 and 63 are divisible by 21, but I don't know if 156 is divisible by 21. I don't think it is. Let's see, it is divisible by 3 at least. Just trying to figure out how I would like to not work this problem with those big coefficients. So if I divide by 3, I get 52. Does 52 divide by anything? Yeah, 2 and 4. But 21 and 63 don't divide by 2 or 4. So I think dividing by 3 is as good as it gets. 7m squared minus 52m plus 21 equals 0. Well, I don't know if this factors or not. If it does, it has to be 7 and 1, so that's at least a hint or a help. Signs, if I want to multiply to a positive and add to a negative, they have to both be negative, so that helps. And I don't have too many options to pick from. 1 and 21 is not going to get the job done. But if I put a 7 across from 7, that makes 49. And then another 3 makes 52. To quote a student from first period, life is so much easier when you know how to factor. Yep. Yep, it is. So m equals 3/7 and m equals 7. If you didn't know how to factor that, or if you couldn't figure out how to factor that, what would your option be? Yep, you could use the quadratic formula. And 10 minutes later, you'd have your answer. That'd be terrible, though, because you'd have to do b squared minus 4ac. And the chances are, if you can't factor it, you probably would mess up the quadratic formula. Right? So hopefully your math skills are such that you can factor what you need to factor. Number 6. 6x squared minus 4x minus 16 equals 0. Move the 3 over. Karis, what do you want to do first on that one? Let's divide by 2. Make this a little bit easier. 3x squared minus 2x minus 8 equals 0. I don't know if that factors or not, but 3 is easy enough to deal with. So 8, my options are 1 and 8, 2 and 4. So I think if I go like that, that would get me 6 and 4. So I can make this work. Again, you've got to know your math facts, and you've got to know them well enough to quickly check and see if factoring works. Let's see, they need to be different signs to get to negative 8. And I need the bigger one to be negative so that my add goes to negative 2. So negative 6 plus 4 would be negative 2. And you guys know that if you want to check your factoring, you multiply it back. 3x times x is 3x squared. Negative 6x plus 4x makes negative 2x. 4 times negative 2 is negative 8. When students factor wrong, I will usually, or if I'm not in too much of a hurry, I'll put equals and then multiply it out to show that, hey, that doesn't equal what you said it does. X equals negative 4/3 and x equals 2. Number 8. Eventually, you've got to learn to factor. I don't know what else to say. Most of you are fine. Some of you are not there yet, and you've got to get there. I can divide by 3. That should make life a little easier on this one. Uh-oh, I don't think that one's going to factor, though. Alright, I could try P and P. 2 and 2 won't work, 4 and 1 won't work, so finally ran out of problems we could factor. So x equals negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. Grace, what do you notice about the discriminant? Here's our discriminant. What'd you say? 4 minus 16? Oh, I squared, I see what you're, if you squared that, then yes, but I already squared the 2 when I wrote that down. So 4 minus 16, negative. What does that mean? Good. 2 imaginary solutions. That does not mean I just quit the problem and say, it's imaginary, sorry, I'm done. I mean, there are 2 imaginary solutions, but we need to still find what they are. 2 plus or minus square root negative 12 over 2. All right, negative 12. The negative comes out as an I. What about the 12, Dylan? What's the square root of 12? 2 root 3. So 2i root 3 over 2. And I can indeed divide both of them by 2. So 1 plus or minus I root 3. Number 10. Ooh, can you tell right now what method we'll use for number 10? I can use the square root method. There's no x term. So I should be able to get x squared by itself and then square root. So if I subtract 4, negative 79, that's not, yeah, I did that right. That's just not very nice. And then divide by negative 6. I don't think 79 will divide by 6. No, that's all right, I guess. Plus or minus square root of 79 over 6, which is not wrong, but not nice. Emmy, why is it not nice? What do I not like about that answer?
Because the denominator can't be square root.
Yes. So I'm going to clean that up. I'm going to rewrite it like this. That helps some people see like how to fix it. 79 times 6. Well, thanks a lot for that. 9 times 6 is 54. Carry the 5. 42 plus 5 is 47. So plus or minus square root of 474 all over 6. No calculator, so just be careful on your calculations. Oh, look. More quadratics to solve. 8n squared plus 3n equals 0. Oh, I like that kind. Madeline, what would you do to solve that one?
Factor out the n.
Good. 8n plus 3. So, Benji, what would my solutions be?
N equals 0, and then the negative 3 over 8.
Very nice. Again, that n equals 0 is what some people leave out, I guess because it doesn't look like the other type of solution, but it's still an answer. Uh, 14 looks ugly, but I just need to move some things around. Add 5x to both sides. Add 8 to both sides. Oh, that's not. Is that factor? I have no idea. It shouldn't be too hard to figure out though, because it has to be 5 and 1 if it's going to work. And 21 doesn't have a ton of factors to worry about. So I don't think 1 and 21 would get me anywhere. 3 and 7. Oh, I see. If I put the 7 across from the 5, that gets me to 35. And the 3 across from the 1 makes 3. So I want the 35 to be negative and the 3 to be positive. Again, FOIL it out to make sure that that's factored right. 3x times 7x, 21x squared. 3x minus 35x is negative 32x. And negative 5 times 1 is negative 5. So x equals 5/3. X equals negative 1/7. If you know that factoring is difficult for you, so you hit one like this and you can't figure it out, do not spend 10 minutes trying to factor it. In fact, I would skip it and come back to it, because if it takes you 10 minutes to factor it, it's probably going to take you 10 minutes to do the quadratic formula, and that's 10 minutes you might not have to spare. So if you hit one that you can't figure out and it's big numbers, I would skip it and come back to it, otherwise you're going to be spinning your wheels. B squared minus 4b minus 1 equals 0. Well, that definitely won't factor. I'd have options on that one. I could use complete the square on that one. That wouldn't be too bad. Do you want complete the square or do you want quadratic formula?
Complete the square.
We'll do complete the square because we hadn't done one of those, and we did a couple of quadratic formulas. Why am I thinking this is a good candidate for complete the square? B's even. So when I do half it squared added, I'm going to get nice numbers, not crazy numbers, not fractions that I end up squaring. So half of B is -2. Square it, I get 4. So I'll add 4 to both sides. Right? This is different than what we started the class with when we were adding 4 and subtracting 4 on the same side. Here the 4s are on different sides, so +4 +4. So B -2 squared equals 5. Yep, I think it was a good call to go complete the square on this one. B -2 equals ± square root of 5. So B equals 2 ± square root 5. I know some of you still hate complete the square and you're going to use quadratic formula, and that's okay. You should still land at the same spot. Alright, number 18. Graph the quadratic inequality and give the vertex. 18 is a little nicer than 17 because the vertex is like sitting right there for us. Madeline, what's that vertex? Good. -4, -1. Careful on this one. The grid marks are half apart instead of 1 apart. Or -1. Usually I do 1, 1, 2, 4, 3, 9, and so on, however far I want to go. Keegan, is there anything that would make me not do 1, 1, 2, 4, 3, 9? So what do I do with that 1/2? Perfect. 1/2, and 2, and 4.5, and 8, but we probably won't get to 8. It's negative, so it's going down. Over 1, down 1/2. Over 1, down 1/2. Again, careful with the scale here, the grid. Over 2, down 2. Oops. And I guess I can go over 3. 1, 2, 3, down 4.5. 1, 2, 3, 4.5. Oh, why did I say, like I was about to do something wrong there. I need a dotted line. A dotted line. And then where am I shading? Below. So again, that was where we were putting together things that we know pretty well. We know how to graph a parabola. We know dash versus solid. We know above, below. Just put it all together and get our picture. Question?
On the graph, are you able to just like graph it like you would graph like a normal parabola?
Like that. How is that different than what I did? I felt like I did graph it like a normal parabola.
Kind of like it says by oh wait, no, never mind. Sorry.
Number 20. Solve the inequality algebraically, graph the solution, write the solution using interval notation. So this is another quadratic inequality. What makes it different than the quadratic inequality that we just did? We just did a quadratic inequality. How is number 20 different? Okay, it's not in vertex form. What type of answer am I going to have? Yeah, 2D versus 1D. This is a 1D problem. There's one variable. So my graph will be a number line graph, not an XY graph. Okay, so negative 2x squared plus 13x minus 6 is greater than 0. Yes?
How do you know if you graph or if you write it like on variables?
So a couple answers to that. The technical answer would be this inequality doesn't have any y's in it. None of these 19 through 22 have any y's in them, so there should not be a xy graph going on. There's only one variable. As opposed to 17 and 18, you've got a y and a y. The less technical answer would be, I spotted you some graph paper on 17 and 18. I did not do that on 19 through 22, so, context clues, this must not need an xy graph. I don't like the negative, so I can multiply through by negative. If I'm keeping the inequality, I would need to change that to less than 0. This is where some people just make it equal 0 and don't worry about it. Come back later and fix it. So let's see, 2x and x both need to be minus. If I put the 6 across from the 2, that would get me 12. And then negative 12 and negative 1 make negative 13. So x equals 1/2 and x equals 6. And what do I do with the 1/2 and the 6? Put them on the number line. Open circles or closed circles? Open. What number would you, I said open and then I didn't draw open. What number would you like to check? I'll check 0. Where is 0? Left, middle, or right? Left. Okay. I love checking 0. Some people get in the habit of thinking 0 is in the middle and testing 0, but testing it in the wrong spot. So let's test 0. I think I'm going to test it into the original before I did anything. That way, in case I mess something up, I'm going back to the original here. So that would be 0 is greater than 6. No, that is not true. 0 is not greater than 6. All right, if you're feeling confident, how many more intervals do I need to test? Well, if I'm feeling confident, I don't have to test any. So how do I figure out what the other two are? Like this one's no. What's this one going to be? They'll alternate. If you're not sure, or you felt like it was a hard problem, or there was something tricky about it, then by all means, plug something else in. Plug 1 in, and that should work. Let's see, that's negative 2 plus 13 is greater than 6. Yeah, that's right. And I would say I rarely check more than 2. If it feels like a hard problem, I'll check 2 to make sure things are looking right. After that, I'm not going to check the third. Unless these two are like not agreeing, or like they're both yes or they're both no, and I know something's wrong, then I might check the third. Okay, so it's yes from 1/2 to 6. And despite my wrong picture to start with, I do not want to include 1/2 and 6. There was one other way that some people liked, and that is the graph the parabola way. You gotta be careful doing that. So a negative parabola, and I want to know where my negative parabola is greater than 0. So where my orange parabola is above, that would be right there, and it would be that section that we already said was 1/2 to 6. So if you don't want to check intervals, you can do the graphing thing. You just have to be careful doing that. 22. 6x squared minus 5x minus 4 is less than 0. I'm hoping this factors. Surely it factors. But I have options on both ends, so I need to be careful here. Different signs, and they need to combine to make 5. So 3 times 2 is 6. No, it's not going to work. 4 times 2 is 8. And 2 times 1... No, 4 times 2 is 8. 3 times 1 is 3. So 2x and 3x. Put the 4 across from the 2. That gets me to 8. 1 across from the 3. Life's hard. Even harder when you don't know how to factor. I want the 8 to be negative and the 3 to be positive. So negative 1/2 and positive 4/3. So negative 1/2, 4/3. 0 is right in the middle, so that'd be a nice one to check. Again, I'm going to check it all the way into the original. 0 is less than 4. That is a true statement. I can alternate after that. I could also check. I could check 2, I suppose, if I wanted to be sure. 6 times 4 is 24. It's less than 14. 24 less than 14. That is not true. So I want to shade the middle. Oh, I forgot to think about open or closed circles. Open, because it's not equal to. So negative 1/2 to 4/3. The parabola way would be, this is an upward parabola. And I want to know where that parabola is less than 0. So that would be from negative 1/2 to 4/3. Again, you don't have to draw the parabola, you don't have to check the intervals, but you got to do one or the other to know where to shade. Change it into vertex form. X squared plus 18x. This is where we complete the square, right? Because vertex form, we want it to look like a vertex, which means we need a completed square. So we bully C out of the way. C, you're not invited to this party. Go hang out on your own. Half it, square it, add it. Okay, I wrote plus 81. That's okay, that completed the square. But obviously I can't just put plus 81 into a problem. That's not legal. Unless I also... What else do I need to do, Micah? Minus 81. So this one was kind of the easier style where there wasn't a number out front where we had to think about, well, did I add, did I subtract? Is there a 2 or a 3 out there? This was just a plus 81 minus 81. X plus 9 squared plus 7. Ooh, 26. Well, why ooh 26, Carter? What makes 26 a little bit trickier? Negative 2. So again, C's not invited to the party. Sorry, C, you're not included here. Not even welcome here. Just be mean about it. Factor out of negative 2. That leaves x squared plus 12x. Let's see. Half it, square it, add it. Well, let's still pick on some people here. So, Caitlin, what do I get when I half it? Half a what? Or what is the half it step? 6. Oh, just, yeah, go ahead. Square it, you get? 36. So we'll add 36. Rayanne, I said add 36. I'm not sure that's what I really did there, right? Like I wrote plus 36. But what really happened when I wrote plus 36?
It's negative.
Negative what?
We multiply it by negative 2, which is 76 minus 72.
Yep. So what do I need to do out here to counteract the subtract 72?
You add 72.
Add 72. Okay, so that one, I think that's as hard as it gets because it was a negative multiplier, so we really had to be careful about keeping things in balance there. So negative 2, x plus 6 squared minus 5. All right, that's all of the evens through 26.